Joined by TSN insider Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, you went one-on-one with Martin Brodeur and talked about the current state of goaltending in the NHL. It's obviously a lot different than when Brodeur was in his prime. But what was his biggest takeaway from what he's seen from today's goalies?
Yeah, Gino, and I have to tell you, I've been meaning to write about this the entire season, but I wanted to get the perfect interview subject for it. And when I realized our path would cross, that Martin Brodeur would be with the Devils in Toronto this week, not only is he the all-time winningest goalie, that's the obvious part, right? But he's lived this new reality of what is goaltending in the NHL and his job as an executive with the Devils. So it makes him a pretty good expert on the subject in many ways. And listen, what he had to say mirrored a lot of the frustration that I've heard from other NHL front offices around the league in the last couple of years. Gino, I know you've heard a lot of the same as well. I've never heard NHL front offices feel less sure of themselves in terms of understanding what they have in goal and who to pay in goal and how to upgrade in goal. And so that's what led me to want to write this column with Martin Brodeur. And to use Brodeur's words, I mean, he finds that the position right now, quote unquote, is as volatile as it's ever been. Wow. He called, the idea of knowing how, salary cap allocation, how much to spend on goalies, a mind twister, quote unquote. And as we talked about in his day, you knew who the starter was on most of the teams in the league, as you remember, Gino. And he said right now, in his mind, there's like 5 guys, maybe 8 guys that you can bank on, to use his words, compared to 30 in his day. Having said all that, Gino, before you get to your next question, he did say that he actually thinks the average goalie today is way more talented than the average goalie of his era when he played. It's just that the unpredictability and the lack of consistency and how goalies are handled is what is making him discuss this a lot internally with the Devils.
You and I know Brodeur very well. He does not like to speak badly about anybody. It's hard to get any bad words out of him. But he mentioned that he's talked to Andrei Vasilevsky, maybe the last throwback to the old era where one goalie really owned the net. What's he think about the whole trend towards platooning rather than going with one guy until he can't go?
Well, I mentioned to Brodeur in the interview, I said, well, Andrei Vasilevsky is like the last guy left who wants to play every game because of the sports science now, as you mentioned, that where teams are really trying to curtail how many starts the number one goalie gets. And Marty's point was, yeah, he's talked to Vasilevsky about that because he respects him. I mean, to use Martin Brodeur's words, he doesn't quite buy the fact that the science is telling starters to be limited at 55 games. In his words, I think they should play 65 to 70 games like we did. And again, I want to make sure that people go read the story because Martin Brodeur is not stuck in the past. He's not saying, this is how it should be because it was when I played. He very much is open to data. They have a huge analytics department in New Jersey. But what he's saying is there's still part of this that has to be a feel. That if your number one goalie is telling you he's ready to go, that maybe you should let him go. So again, lots more there from Martin Brodeur, but it absolutely paints a picture that parallels what I'm hearing from a lot of NHL front offices, the unpredictable NHL goalie of today.
Pierre, some really great insights from one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, Martin Brodeur. And just how different is today's game than Brodeur's era? UC Saros leads the league in starts this year. He's projected to finish with 65. Brodeur started more games than that, 13 different seasons in his Hall of Fame career, including an incredible 78 starts back in 1997.